Welcome to the Wednesday week, aka the North Stand Top Boys.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Wednesday week, your Sheffield Wednesday podcast in association with the Riverside Cafe. I'm Vic and with me on the line I've got Mr. Fudge. Hi Dan.
Mr. Fudge, I enjoy that. You know what I mean? It makes me sound all regal and grown up.
Sounds a bit porny. No, it's a bit porn, isn't it?
Yeah, it does.
I feel like you should be shaking your little cordless phone at me.
Listen.
And speaking of shaking cordless phones in porn, it's Mr. Marriott. Hi, James.
I'm still laughing, Mr. Fudge. I don't know why I find that so funny. Mr. Fudge. It's like a really shit teacher at school, isn't it? When we got this afternoon, I've got Mr. Fudge. Brilliant. Yeah, I'm good.
Good, glad to hear. Yeah, who have you got this afternoon? Oh, Mr. Fudge, oh, he's a right weirdo, him. Yeah, it is. Brilliant. It is one of them names, isn't it? Mrs. Fudge would be like that really cute little dinner lady, you know, like that'd be a hedgehog in like an Enid Blyton novel. But
where's
like,
the
yeah. Anyway,
it should be Ms. Fudge, I think, not Mrs. Fudge.
Ms. Fudge.
Ms. Fudge.
Or I went on a course today about pronouns. Mux Fudge. Therefore, they don't have a gender. There you go.
Ah, right. Asexual Fudge. I
No.
don't like the sound of that at all.
Anyway, let's move swiftly on. The biggest bit of news since we last got together is that it is official. Come February the 1st, my friends, Mr. Mr. Fudge will be in appointment at Hillsborough. James, what are you thinking to that?
I mean, we talked a fair bit about it last week. Vic, you and I were on Radio Sheffield the following morning talking about it as well. And I feel like I've talked a lot about it over the course of the week. I mean, in a lot of ways, I've probably talked myself around to being more positive about it than I have been. You kind of know my thoughts about where we're at generally as a club. But look, Steve Bruce, certainly on paper, like his record's really good. He's certainly been there and done it. He's got the T-shirt. It doesn't fit anymore, but he's got the T-shirt. And, he's going to bring something that we've maybe been lacking for a while in terms of, he just brings a certain kind of settled feeling to a football club. I don't think he brings anything like that at all. But you know, what I think he provides is kind of like, you know, with Carlos, everything was a bit, you know, it was always manic, wasn't it? It was all over the place. You never really knew which Carlos you were going to get. And, you know, he'd do an interview and he'd be hilarious. And then he'd start beating the shit out of a £20 note. And then, you know, Jos obviously it was just a weird year. Steve Bruce coming in gives us something that we've just not had for ages, really. Probably, you know, maybe with Stuart Gray we did a little bit, but probably back to the kind of the David Jones era of just kind of feeling like quite settled. And I guess for the players, it's going to feel like that as well. So yeah, I mean, I guess I'm kind of looking forward to it now. I'm kind of looking forward to him coming in. I think, you know, it gives us something to kind of look forward to for the rest of the season now, because we're kind of in danger, aren't we, of being one of those teams that the season could very quickly peter out. I mean, the season could very quickly kind of take a turn for the worse. There's no doubt about that. But you know, I think that you know, this change means that we've got something to kind of keep us interested and keep us going now for the rest of the season. So yeah, I'm gonna be positive about it. I think it's good. I think it's an appointment that of the options that we've got available and the way that we do things as Sheffield Wednesday Football Club. I think we've given us the best chance of getting this one right.
I must admit, we are 4 minutes and 24 seconds into this podcast, and James hasn't said the plan word yet. So fantastic!
Are you absolute cowbag? That was
you two just kick off about stuff because all you can see is the here and now. You're blinded to it. You're both
talk about the 5-year
stupid.
plan?
You haven't got a clue.
I mean, one thing as well, obviously, that comes with Steve Bruce is his little black book. We all know, you know, he's got the contacts across the Football League. Will we be seeing Alex Bruce at centre-half? Who knows? But other than that, you know, he's got the contacts there. He's still got a good relationship with Manchester United. You know, there are quite a few clubs that are willing to do business with Steve Bruce that probably your Carlos and certainly Jos had no sort of links with whatsoever. Obviously, we've had Steve Agnew in place in the meantime, and the other chap, can't remember his name. But he said that Steve Bruce is obviously going to come in and try and transform us into a promotion-winning side by playing stylish, entertaining football. Fudge, it all comes to a head on February the 1st. Bit of an odd start date, do you reckon? I mean, do you have, there were mixed views in the pub at the weekend, people saying that they agreed with that they didn't agree. My argument was that this proves even more so why he's the right man for the job, as far as I'm concerned. What do you reckon?
The 1st of February, I mean, you've got to look at the reasons why. I mean, the man just lost his parents, for God's sake, and he made some promises to them and that sort of stuff. How anybody's got issue with that is absolute beggar's belief. Do you know what I mean? That's, I like a whinge like the next man. I like a good bloody rubbish, don't get me wrong, but Christ, do you know what I mean? Let a man live a little. Do you know what I mean? I find it astounding that people have got issue with that. But, we are Sheffield Wednesday fans, and that's kind of what we're famous for, I'm pretty sure. When we sing, we're the famous Sheffield Wednesday, I'm pretty sure it's in reference to the whinging and the bloody rubbish brigade. But yeah, I think it's great. You've got Clemmo and Aggo in charge. They're all right for the time being. And as daft it sounds, it might be all right them coming in.
Sounds like a really bad turn at a working men's club, doesn't it? Clemmo and Aggo play the 90s. Clemmo and Aggo do jazz.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. And I'm all right with it. I don't think it's not like it's a tentative time of the season. Oh wait, no, it is. It's the whole transfer window. That's weird, isn't it? But I don't think I don't think we can do anything in this transfer window anyway. So
newsflash, we've got no money.
Yeah, isn't it? So it's just worth Clem and Iggs just shoring up the tap that we've got turned on in terms of leaking goals. But I'm all right with it. I'm all right with it. I'm fine with it as long as we have a frugal January and a frugal pre-season, and we don't get point deductions and all the rest of it, because we know Steve Bruce, he likes to spend a few quid, but the best thing about Steve Bruce is that when he does, it's in the right places. He doesn't squander money.
Can I just add on to what you're saying there, Fudge, and just say that a lot's been said about this 1st of February thing, and even before the reasons came out, I didn't really see it as being a big issue because we've only got 2 league games in January. It just doesn't seem that big a deal to me. What I do think though is the reasons behind it, as you mentioned to there about his parents, and while he was working at Villa, the fact that his wife was looking after his parents in the kind of the final stages of their lives. I think that the message that it sends to the players is one of, this is a guy that keeps his word, and this is a guy that when he says he's going to do something, he does it. And I'm sure the players will want him to start tomorrow because they know it's a new era and they want to get going with it. But for them to see this is a guy that when he says he's going to do something, he does it. I think that will earn him a lot more respect from the squad and from the players. And that, I don't think that can be underestimated. I think that's something really good. When this guy does start on the 1st of February, there's going to be a group here that have got just that little bit more respect for him, for the fact that he kept his word in a situation where he didn't have to. He could have just said, "Oh, I've got this offer, I've got to take it. Sorry, love." And actually, he's kept to his word, and that means that when he says something to them, when he makes a promise to a player and says, "Look, you're not going to be involved for the next few games, but if you do this, then you will be," or whatever it might be. He's a man of his word, and I think that's something quite powerful and quite strong.
I think one thing for us as a generation, obviously Fudge is the next generation up, but for us as a generation, we're starting to see more and more managers now who we've watched as players, and as players in an era where football has been full of money. So, like you've got your Stevie G's, you've got Frank Lampard's Derby. We've got those sort of players coming into fruition now as managerial candidates. And there are it's almost like Steve Bruce, Sam Allardyce, Harry Redknapp, they're the last of the old school, made it as footballers, but not too flashy lot, if you know what I mean. And I think, I don't watch I'm a Celebrity, but I know I've heard quite a lot about Harry Redknapp being very old fashioned, very family orientated, everyone really getting on board with that. And I think they are the last of the greats, really, in that respect, of the old school British managers that will, kick shit out of you, but also, they love the missus and, they'll go down old working men's club, but they'll be home at 4, like they told Sandra. And it's that sort of generational thing that I think is going to disappear at some point from the modern game because these other players are coming through as managers. And I think this almost like cements Steve Bruce yet again in that category for me. I think, like we said, he made a promise to his wife. She's obsessed with cricket. She's not seen him for 40 years, probably, while he's been here, there and everywhere in football. She's done her bit as a good daughter-in-law, as a good wife, as a good person, and he's made a promise to her. And I think that, to me, is just such an old-fashioned, old-school British manager thing to do, that he's stuck by his word, like you said, James. And I think, I do think it's a positive. And I think also, if you look at our chairman, I think that says a lot about our chairman as well, for him to be willing to accept that, because I think Mr. Chansiri maybe 2 years ago probably wouldn't have taken that stance, I don't think. I think that shows that he's learning a bit more about the game and a bit more about how, British football works and how he probably respects Steve Bruce, as we've said before. Mr. Chansiri is obviously a man of his word himself. And I do wonder, had this have been 2-3 years ago, when we brought in Carlos, would that have been accepted in the same way that Steve Bruce has been accepted doing it? I don't know. It's hindsight, isn't it? But I do think it says a lot about the chairman as well, that he's willing to take that on the chin. A lot of football clubs can run without a first-team manager, can't they? If they've got Aggy and Clemmo in pursuit, they can kind of handle things. And, there's emails and mobile phones now. But yeah, I think it's absolutely fine as far as I'm concerned. So, on the subject of Aggy and Clemmo, what are we thinking of them as interim cover?
I don't think it's a bad thing. I mean, I think they're clearly football people. They're the ones that do the tracksuit work on the training ground. Do you know what I mean? They're the ones stood there going, right, then kick that, you run there, because I'm pretty sure that's as in depth as football training goes. Because they're not the sharpest knife in the drawer, are they, football players? So you do a kick ball over there, and you do a runny kick there, and then you run past this chap and put it in the netty bag. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. And these are football people. They know what they're doing, and Bruce clearly trusts them. I mean, how many clubs has he taken them to? I mean, they're his guys. Do you know what I mean? They're the group. They're the Carlos Queiroz. But then again, you know how it worked out with Steve McLaren when he decided he wanted the main man job. And then I spent all summer in 2008 swearing at the telly. So, swings and roundabouts. Could work, couldn't. But early indications are they play resilient football. And it's clear that they're wanting to get to know the squad and who does what and who works well where and all that type of bits. I don't think I've got any more feedback on them. I mean, what about you, James?
If I'm honest, right, I was a little surprised that we didn't just keep Lee Bullen in caretaker charge until the end of the month, just because of the fact that it's less upheaval and change. Because we've had a caretaker manager for 4 games. Now we've got another caretaker manager coming in for, is it 4 games or 5 games? And then obviously Steve Bruce takes over full time. Now, I don't actually think it makes all that much difference, because I imagine Lee Bullen will have had, a big hand in the preparation for the game against Luton, because obviously he'd been looking after the squad for the best part of a month anyway, or certainly for 2-3 weeks. I'd maybe have been tempted to, just for the sake of just keeping normality, to say that, Lee Bullen stays in caretaker charge, while the 2 new guys kind of get involved with first team coaching before Steve Bruce takes over. But it's probably semantics. It probably wouldn't make a huge amount of difference, but we're going to have, 3 different managers in 3 different months. And I mean, that, just doesn't make a huge amount of sense to me. I'll be honest, I don't know a lot about them. Agnew was involved, used to play for Barnsley, I remember that. He's obviously been, I think, caretaker manager at Middlesbrough a couple of times, and spent a lot of his coaching career up there. And I mean, they're good people to have involved.
Interestingly,
involved with the club. We've kind of, I think, the last 2 or 3 managers that we've had, the coaching staff have kind of been people that we didn't really know anything about. At least these are people that, as Fudge says, they are football people. I mean, that's, we're going for something different here to what we've had in our last two appointments, and neither of those ultimately have worked. So,
James, you just said then he was at Middlesbrough. He wasn't there during sort of Adam Reach tenure, I guess. I'm not 100% sure there. I'm just wondering. No.
I don't think. But saying that, Reach has obviously been there since he was knee high to a grasshopper, hasn't he? So I guess that he probably may well have been involved at some point when Adam Reach was around, but how much direct contact?
One of the good things that's come out of this as well, obviously, is that Steve Agnew said in his press conference the other day that Lee Bullen is absolutely 100% staying involved with the squad. I think we can all agree that that's great news. We've said that over the last few weeks now, that we'd hate to see Lee Bullen disappear from Sheffield Wednesday. The fact that Agnew's come out and said it, he's obviously got permission from Steve Bruce to say that. I very much doubt he's just gone, yeah, sure. So I think that's absolutely great news as well for Sheffield Wednesday and obviously for Lee Bullen's mortgage payment.
I wonder if there's going to be a new mascot just turns up around early February. Like some a ginger owl
for sale sign.
Do you know what I mean? Just turns up. I wonder if that's the job you've got for
the
him.
The Chupa Chups challenge at half time, but we did it with a Spencer's for sale sign. Speaking of award-winning legends, James, it was Man of the Month again this month. Obviously, December's Man of the Month was Chelsea loanee Michael Hector. He came out top with 33% of the fans' vote. Did you agree with that?
I guess so. Yeah, it was a weird one actually because we had that decent little run, didn't we, at the back end of December? But there was no one player who stood out head and shoulders above anyone else. So it was a slightly difficult one to vote on, and I know there was a bit of movement online about a few people wanting Morgan Fox to get it because of the fact that he'd really kind of improved in those 4 games at the back end of the year. Yeah, it's probably fair actually. I think that Heck's been fairly solid at the back. He's kind of formed part of that kind of resurgent backbone of a defence that we've had for those 4 games, where you previously swapping and changing the defence, and I think we'd all had rants about that at various points about it just not making any sense, and the fact that we moved to playing a regular flat back 4, stuck with the same players, and ultimately we kept whatever it is now 3 clean sheets out of 5. That's great. That's really good, and Hector's probably been the true leader of that back line. I know Tom Lees has the armband, but Hector's really risen to it. It was great actually that last time, obviously, when he won Player of the Month, he got dropped for the game afterwards. This time he didn't get dropped for the game afterwards, but he did have a bit of a nightmare and had a really shit game against Luton. So there we go.
Maybe that's why you did it in the first place. It's interesting to say that, James, about obviously the defence coming back together in the last few games, and obviously so Hector got 33%, second was Morgan Fox with 24%, and third was Kieran Westwood with 17%. So I think that just nails home the point completely there. I'm glad in a way. I know the club often, quite a lot of the time, don't put the second and third out there because it's usually 80% voted Barry Bannon, 2% voted some kid who's not played in the last year, but they were on the list, so lol. But I think it made a point of putting Morgan Fox on there because I think, like you said, a lot of fans wanted to give him a bit more credit than what he's had, putting it lightly. But yeah, to see those 3, that shows that defensively, we're building from the back with who knows in attack at the moment. So anyway, then we move on and we go to New Year's Day, so the first day of 2019. And of course, we started it as we meant to go on, back in the hallowed grounds of Essex. Fudge.
Yeah.
New Year's Day didn't just start the year of me, I like to think this year as, but the year of 2019. It also started what I like to call the year of the brick wall, the year of Hutch. He made his 100th appearance for Sheffield Wednesday on New Year's Day, which... it seems like a lot, but we signed him in February 2014. But, he's had 6 broken legs and 3 new spines since then. So is that a good achievement for Sam Hutchinson?
It's a double-edged sword with me because, if you think 4 seasons, on average 25 appearances in a season who for a player who was essentially retired, that we managed to coax out of retirement, isn't too bad when you think about it. But then you've got to think of how much time on the pitch he's actually done in those appearances. Do you know what I mean? If he comes on and has to go off after 24 minutes like he did at the weekend.
Or get sent off.
or get sent off, or you know what I mean? It's just kind of like, is it 100 appearances? Really? I'd love to see 100 appearances.
It's 100 starts. 100 starts. There'll be more appearances, won't it?
I'd love to see, like, the time on the pitch for somebody like Liam Palmer over the last 4 years compared to Sam Hutchinson. Do you know what I mean? Of whether that actually counts.
Oh, he is picking on Liam Palmer again.
Hey, I was going to say, yeah, I mean, we can't really mention Liam Palmer, Fudge, because, everyone hates Liam Palmer, apparently. So no matter how many minutes he's played on that pitch, they'll have all been bloody rubbish.
But I was actually saying a positive light, like, you know what I mean? Like, he's been a regular for a couple of seasons. Do you know what I mean? I bet his 100 appearances in terms of minutes on the field are, insurmountably more than Sammy H's, no?
Well, I mean, Liam Palmer's got to be our longest serving player now, hasn't he? By a country mile, I think.
I think he will be, yeah. And then it'll be at you, I guess, after.
I guess so.
Yeah.
And then probably Hodge.
Right, he's been here for a while. It would be really interesting, and if only we had someone that was into stats on the podcast, they'd be able to find this information out. But how many of those 100 starts has Hutch finished? That would be interesting to know.
If only there was some kind of just audio-based medium in which they could just be talking about, Sheffield Wednesday-based stats.
Yeah. Hang on. Let me text a friend of mine who lives in Denmark. I'll come back to you.
All right.
Well, wouldn't it also be great if there was some sort of medium for us to go pre-match and have a pint in an outside bar? Well, believe it or not, we can at the Riverside Cafe on Catch Bar Lane. Now open on match days. So I also, do I want to touch on this? I just feel like I'm opening a can of James Marriott-shaped worms here. Here we go. So, feisty. So, here we go. I'm just going to go with it, James. Just ease that down because I feel like this is going to be like a planned situation all over again. So police in Sheffield have said that they no longer want football matches between United and Wednesday to take place on weekends due to balancing policing matches while maintaining high levels of service for the public whom we served. The force has written to the EFL to ask for derby fixtures to take place on weeknights. So the championship game in March, as we know, has now been moved to the 4th, which is a Monday night. Just to give you some information on this, because before we start ranting, a BBC investigation showed that last year's fixture between us and United at Hillsborough was the most expensive policing operation for a match in England, costing £203,000, and Sheffield Wednesday were billed 41k by the police. The Detective Chief Constable has said that the force makes a significant loss policing football games across the county. So from now on, it looks like we're going to be playing on weeknights. Now, for me, at first, this screamed Sky Sports. This screamed, you bastards robbing my football, she says while she's watching Sky Sports out of the corner of her eye tonight. But James, I know you got a little bit antsy about this, didn't you?
I think it's insane. It's ridiculous. It's, there's been a lot said about it on Twitter, and this is not kind of, throwing the toys out of the pram kind of thing. This is genuinely like, it's maybe it would be easier if we just didn't have fans going to football matches. Maybe we'll get rid of the football as well, because that might injure players. So let's get rid of fans and let's get rid of the actual footballs, and then, it'll be a lot more fun, won't it? It's ridiculous. You can't just say, well, don't have derby games on weekends ever again. If it's hard to police, well, okay, that obviously is an issue, but it's also your job. So it's a bit, we could all come up with ways of making our jobs a lot easier, but it's not viable. So I hope that the FA say no. The EFL say no. And that it doesn't happen, because no one, absolutely no one, wants to go to a Sheffield derby match on a Monday night. No one. If I can find anyone that says, yes, I'd rather it be Monday night than Saturday 3:00, I accept it will probably never be Saturday 3:00 again, but even Sunday morning, is there anyone that would genuinely prefer it to be or a Monday night rather than a Sunday? It's just stupid. And moving it, I just can't see the logic in when the match at the Lane was moved to Friday night, which means basically, book the day off work, get trashed all day long. You've got 2 days to sleep off your hangover. How is that easier to police than Sunday morning when people have got to go up for work on Monday, so they're probably going to take it steady? One set of fans is always going to just afterwards want to go home and have nothing, nothing to celebrate afterwards. I don't. It just seems it's stupid. I'm sorry, it's stupid. And I hope the FL tell the police to get bent. To be honest,
EFL's response: get bent. I must admit, I get it in the sense that, like we said, Saturday afternoon at 3:00 or heaven forbid Saturday at 5, is in this day and age probably not a great idea for a derby match. However, I object to this when the same policing, South Yorkshire Police and football, don't even get me started, but I object to it when the same police force think it's perfectly acceptable for us to play Leeds United on a Saturday night or Millwall on a Friday night, or Millwall on a Friday night. Games where there is going to be trouble and people are likely to be booking hotels and staying in Sheffield. Because I used to work in a nightclub in Sheffield, and I remember I was working on the Friday night that scumbag ran on the pitch and decked Kirtland. And that night I was rung up by the nightclub manager that I worked at, and he said, look, we're not opening tonight. There is so much trouble in town. So many people are staying over and it's just absolute carnage. Don't come into work. Now, if there are nightclubs closing down because of this, that's not a good idea. But yet we can't play a derby match on any other but a Monday night. So like you said, James, I've ended up now put the afternoon off on that Monday because I'll be buggered if I'm going to hang around at work and try and get from town to Hillsborough at 5:00. And then I've also had to put the morning off because it's going to be a late night. It's probably going to end up in the pub afterwards, either drowning our sorrows or celebrating. So it's cost me a day's leave just because we can't get police in. But how many other derby matches are there across the country? And we don't see this. We don't see this problem, and you see Leeds might play Man United. You don't see that. You don't see Liverpool Man United. You don't, there were photos came up of Man City fans sat next to Man United fans with just 3 policemen in between them. We can't even handle that. It just seems, like you said, just absolutely crazy and a bit of a get out, to be honest. I think we've said before especially with the Sheffield derby match, at the end of the day, for those 90 minutes, yeah, all right, there's a lot of banter going around, there's a lot of abuse, there's a lot of there's a lot of aggression. But just before kick-off, the amount of people you see stood on the phones waving at the West Stand, trying to spot the mate or the cousin or the brother or the wife waving back at them. It's one city at the end of the day, and it just seems... I think they got it very wrong last time at Hillsborough when they penned everybody in. But, yeah, I think it's absolutely absurd as well.
Yeah. There's just got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way. You can't just say you can't play certain football games at the weekend. It doesn't make sense. And it's not that long ago that they didn't want to have them on any day other than a Sunday. It just seems like, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I'm sure it's got something to do with overtime and the cost rather than anything to do with particularly safety issues as such. Because playing on a Friday night is going to cause more issues than playing on a Sunday morning. I guess it's just number of police that are available or something like that. But I hope that the FL say, sorry, no, you've got to find a better solution to this than just not playing those games. But yeah, probably suits Sky as well. So where the fans will, our view on this will be, absolute. Police, Sky first, probably the football clubs, and at some point they might give a second thought to the fans, but I doubt it very much because we're the unimportant ones in football in 2019. Went back a year there.
Well, the other thing as well, I think a few people on Twitter I've seen, Sheffield Wednesday obviously don't do it anymore, but we used to do the weekend season tickets, and we've stopped doing those, but there are still a lot of people who cannot make midweek matches. They can't get there. And, because they're either working away or they travel up from, there's one guy who, I can't remember his name, bless him, but he travels up a hell of a long way every weekend. I think he's from, it's not Fudge, but I think he's from somewhere like Southampton. He sits on the north near us. And he comes up. Is he going to make it up for a Monday night, or is he going to have to take 2 days leave? You know, it's people like that we also have to think about. And also, who wants to go into work on either side on the Tuesday morning? Until, you know, if you could know the result beforehand, fine. But I think most people are going to be booking off that Tuesday morning, aren't they?
Yeah, probably. And you're quite right. I mean, I'll mention there's another Victoria that I know that sits on the north, who travels up from Brighton for every game, and that's a hell of a journey, that from Brighton. And obviously, you know, that literally is 2 days. It's got to be 2 days off if you're going to go to a game on the Monday night. And I've ranted about it before. I'll not go into full rant mode here, but I hate this about football now. The fact that the effect on the fans just seems so like it's just pushed right to the bottom of the pile. We're just unimportant in the equation of modern day football, and it's a waste of leave. It's for any of us. It's a waste of holiday. You don't want to use holiday to go to a football match. It's a hobby. It should be the other way around. You know, it fits in around work. There are always going to be some games that you can't make because of work and stuff like that. That happens. We all accept that at the start of the season when the fixtures come out. But then you get games moved left, right, and centre, here, there, and everywhere. And it means, you know, the season that we were in the playoff final, I think I used probably about 10 days holiday over the course of a year, booked off, you know, strategically to go to different games up and down the country, and particularly, you know, down to Brighton for a couple of days, twice in that season. And it's, you know, it's that's a difficult thing for anyone to sustain, and you don't want to have to do it. You particularly don't want to have to do it when it's a game that's, you know, for you is literally on your doorstep. Yeah. For a lot of people, it's a game that's in their backyard. And you're having to use holiday from work. That's just stupid.
It is, but then at the same time, you know, there would be the amount of people that say, you know, be listening and say, well, don't take holiday, don't take holiday. If I finish work at 5 o'clock, I'll be damned if I'm getting on a train from town to Hillsborough at that time. No way on earth. Anyway, we've ranted, we've moaned. Let's go on to a bit of excitement in our lives. The Luton game. Obviously, the lineup, there wasn't much change there, James. I'd imagine it was obviously Agnew's game to see who was fit, who wasn't, and there's obviously not a lot either side. What did you think to his team selection?
We should probably mention, by the way, that we've lost Dan Fudge. He's just gone. We don't know where he's gone. We hope he's all right. Hashtag pray for Fudge. He might be back a little bit later on. All right. This is true, right? And I've got the messages, and I can prove this because it sounds like the kind of thing that's really easy to say in hindsight. When the team came out, I'm in a group chat with John and Kieran, who are the guys that I go to football games with. When the team came out, and I said, I'm not sure that I agree with playing a full strength team. And that partly because I'm not, you know, I'll be proved wrong a little bit later on in tonight's show when we get on to talking about what, you know, potentially is going to be the fourth round game for us. But I'm not a huge fan of the cup. I don't see the magic of the cup anymore. I'm not a massive fan of the FA Cup. And I feel like we'd played 4 games in quite quick succession over Christmas, as you always do. We've got another league game coming up on Saturday against Hull, who are going great guns at the moment in the Championship. And it was a real good opportunity to just change things up a little bit, give some players a rest, which means that we're not risking any injuries. And that's the bit where I kind of say, you know, it's easy to say in hindsight, but I did say it before the game. And it also gives a chance for those players that have not had a look in the last few games. Players like Matt Penny, who's you know, probably one of our best players in the first half of the season, and he's dropped right out of favour. Players like Sam Winnall, who, you know, is clearly not match fitness, but an hour or maybe 70 minutes in a game like that would have been a real good thing for him. So I think we missed an opportunity to change things up a bit, give the younger players who've dropped out of favour a bit of a run out, give them a chance. And actually they would be that bit fresher as well, and maybe they'd have stood a better chance of going out and winning that game. So I've got to say that I think that we got it wrong when it comes to team selection, and that's not throwing the game because it's the cup. It's a squad game in 2019, and sometimes you've got to change things, and you've got to strategically pick games. Even if they're league games, you've got to strategically pick games where you change things a little, and that should have been on Saturday against Luton.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. But like I said as well, I think it was the new two caretaker managers' opportunity to see what Lee Bullen's been doing, why things have changed so suddenly under Bullen. But it was also to our detriment, wasn't it? Because we saw Hutch go off injured. We don't know too much about that yet. It looked like he's back to me, but who knows? We also saw Barry Bannon go down quite dramatically as far as Barry Bannon goes, and he did hobble off the pitch as well. So, we took a risk there. Have we paid the price of that? I don't know yet. Obviously, you were out shopping with your mother. Did you buy anything nice?
Not really.
Did you not get a new coat from Marks and Spencer?
I've spent all my. No, I bought that the week before.
So I went along. Like, you won't believe this, James. I've not seen you since, right? So I booked one ticket on my own. My mum and dad didn't know if they were going. My dad had just been in hospital a couple of days before, so he didn't know if he'd be able to make it. So they'd said, "Oh, we're not sure yet. Just get your own ticket." So I got in touch with the lads who we go to the pub with in the Cop End. They were sitting in the north, so I got their seat numbers. Tried to get as close as possible as I could to them. There was one seat, about 2 rows in front, few to the left, and I thought that's fine. Just this one seat on its own. I thought, fine, sound, I'll have that. It turned out, as I sat down, someone grabbed my bum. I was stood talking to the lads still, and somebody grabbed my backside, and I had managed to book the one ticket in the ground next to Rich Davies, Dickie Owl. So how on earth that happened out of 16,000 seats, I don't know. But yeah, I ended up next to Dickie. I left at half time. I went and sat with the Cop End lot, but only because I was kind of breaking up Dickie and his missus and all their friends, because I'd got this one ticket in between them all. But yeah, so that was a bit of an odd one. But as far as the match went, it was crap. It was awful. Nobody really looked like they were going to do anything. It was a very, very average performance. We didn't match up to anybody. We didn't seem to particularly outshine anyone. Barry Bannon, I think, had one of his worst games for us this season. And that he wasn't diabolical, but he really didn't have a good game. Adam Reach as well was quite poor. Sam Winnell obviously came on. That was good to see. Did a lot of jumping about, diving about. George Boyd was also quite poor, actually, which I was surprised with after the last time we've seen him. He seemed quite slow. He seemed quite lethargic. It was just one of those performances, I think. But we didn't lose, and obviously we go on to fight another day.
Yeah. I did watch it, by the way. In a move of complete and absolute legality. I did watch the game. And I'd agree with everything that you said. It's quite weird watching games at Hillsborough on TV because you probably see the way the game unfolds much better than you do when you're at the game itself, because you're kind of more emotive at the game, whereas when you're watching it on telly on your own, you're a little bit more sort of considered. And yeah, we looked. It genuinely looked like a group of players that actually needed a rest, and were probably having to work harder than they'd want to do to keep a Luton team that obviously wanted to win the game at bay. And actually, when you look at the great pyramid of the EFL, Luton are not that far behind us. They're doing all right this season. They're going good guns in League One. So everyone that's kind of getting arse on a bit about the fact we didn't beat Luton at home, there aren't that many places between us in the actual pyramid, and they came here with a view that they could win the game, and they gave it a real good go. And actually, we kept a clean sheet, and you could take some positives from it. But we're just missing opportunities, just change things up a bit, and send some players out there that were hungry and had something to prove, and whatever. I don't know if you sent them out with a message of saying, look, this is your first chance to show us as your new caretaker managers what you can do. So you're playing for your starting places against Hull. Go out there and show us what you can do. But it just didn't work.
No, absolutely. It was just, like I said, it just felt a bit lethargic. The whole thing. It felt almost like what sometimes a New Year's Day game feels like. It was just a bit. It was just everything just seemed to be in slow motion. It was just wasn't great. But yeah, so moving on to my favourite topic, Youth Watch. So I've been watching the young boys, and the under-23s got off to a flyer in the new year by beating Burnley 1-0 on Monday afternoon. So Ben Hughes, defender, was the scorer, scored in the first half, which is obviously great for the youth team. And they're off to an absolute flyer. So keep an eye out there. Will we see anyone else join the youth team again this year? Who knows? Who might fall out with the gaffer? Will Hamlet Nabdi make an appearance? Who knows? You can come and discuss it with us, though, before a match day in the Riverside Cafe on Catch Bar Lane. Obviously, they pay for this lovely podcast, so go and buy a pint. So moving on to Hull City, James. Obviously, it's a bit of a shame that old Brucey boy isn't in charge for this, really, isn't it? That's one of the weird things, that he's going to be missing the Hull match and the Birmingham match, isn't he? So it's a bit of a strange one. But obviously, like you said, they're on quite a good run at the moment. But strangely, like, they're unbeaten since the end of November in the league. Obviously, they thumped Bolton 6-0. They beat, was it Leeds 2-0? But they're still 13th in the table, which just kind of highlights what a crazy league this can be at the moment. How are you feeling about that? Obviously, they lost in the FA Cup the other night to Millwall. But what do you reckon our chances are? Do you think we'll go all guns blazing? Because obviously Agnew will know about Hull as well from his time. Was he there with Bruce, I guess? Yeah, he must have been. What do you reckon? Do you reckon are we going to be schooled? Are we going to be all right?
Don't know. It is tough one to call this, because they are. If you look at any form league tables for the Championship, Hull will be top of pretty much every single one of them, because they have had a real good run of form. And as you mentioned there, it's not just that they've been scraping wins and stuff. They've been in good form. You know, they've been winning games convincingly. They've been fairly free scoring. And yet they only find themselves mid-table. But, you know, there was a point where you'd have looked at them and said, yeah, this is probably the season that they could well drop down to League One. You know, they've not got enough to kind of, you know, mount any sort of consistent form and get out of it. And yet that's exactly what they've done. And you know, he's not a manager that I particularly look at and think, wow, you know, they've got someone really special there. And they're a team that I expected to really struggle this season. So it's not a great time to go there. We've not got a bad record at Hull, all in all. Certainly in recent seasons, you know, we went there and won last season. Was it Jordan Rhodes that scored last season? We got a 1-0 win. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, there isn't going to be a good time to go there now in the second half of the season, I don't think, because I think that they'll now be looking upwards and looking towards that top six and thinking that they're the team that can, you know, come from nowhere and sneak a top six finish. So what we've got to do is just have the belief that they might see us as one of the most difficult tests that they've got coming up, because the fact that, you know, we're in decent form as well, we're a bit more resurgent, and we'll kind of want to go out and really prove a point. So. Yeah, it's a tough one to call, and to be honest, and I hate going into any game saying this, but I'm not going to be disappointed if we're coming back on Saturday evening with a point.
Yep, no, 100% agree with you there. Yeah, it's like you said. I mean, mid-table, it just seems. And I was obviously, you do a little bit of research if you're hosting this thing. I don't normally, but I was looking at the results and I thought, well, surely they must be in the playoffs. Like looking at those results and the scores that they've had. But yeah, it just highlights to me what a crazy league this can be, and why I firmly believe it's one of the best leagues in the world. Because it is just, you know, you can have a team who are hammering other teams 2-0, 6-0. You know, they're coming back from 2-0 down. You know, there's all these different results, and then they're meandering in mid-table. You know, they're not that much higher up than us, and it just seems a bit crazy, doesn't it? Are they still on parachute payments this year then?
Yeah, there will be. Yeah, it's an odd situation at that club, because you've still got you've got an owner that was talking about selling up, like, you know, 3 and something years ago. And we all know that there's not a good relationship between club and fans. It's strange.
Well, we saw that at Wembley, didn't we?
Absolutely, yeah. And things have never really changed since then. And actually, it's been fairly downhill for them as a club since then, really. And I think they're still the only club in the Championship that They only have one rate for tickets, so there's no concessions, so there's no child's tickets, there's no seniors.
Right.
Everyone pays the same, and that's something that's just despised by their fans, as it would be. Even we have these, £5 for under whatever's. There's none of that there. It's you pay the ticket's £24. It's £24. You're buying the seat.
Wow, I did not know that.
And it's same for away fans. It's same for Wednesday fans when we were buying tickets there. That there's no bracket. It's just you're just buying a ticket at Hull City. It's a weird situation at that club, and they've certainly got some money knocking around, but I don't think that their owner particularly wants to invest it back into the club.
Because he was a bit of a legend, wasn't he, when he took over? I remember watching the documentaries on him and whatever else, and he'd pumped loads of money into the city, hasn't he? But yeah, wow. I can sometimes understand a flat rate. If you say it's an away game, it's a flat rate, because there aren't many people that take the kids. Obviously, there's going to be some OAPs and whatever that go. But for home fans, I mean, you're just losing a whole generation of supporters, aren't you? Surely, I genuinely didn't know that. That's one to tell my dad. Yeah. He'll find that fascinating, James.
Yeah, it's that.
And then we move on.
Sorry, I was just going to say that, and the attempt to change the name of the club with the kind of the nails in the coffins for most Hull fans. And we've not got a lot of time for Hull fans. Let's be fair, have we? We don't think a lot of them. But I do. If I kind of reach deep down inside, I've probably got a bit of sympathy for them, regardless of who they are and the club that they support. Any club where you've got stuff like that going on is a bit crap.
It also, it highlights grass ain't always greener, doesn't it? We see people moaning at Hillsborough a lot of the time, but wow, that's blown me away with the ticket prices. So then we move on. Obviously, the 15th we go to Luton. So not long after the whole game, the following week was straight off back down the M1. It's quite a nice trip to Luton, I reckon. I've flown from Luton Airport a couple of times, and if we win that, we all know what happens, don't we? We get thumped at Stamford Bridge 12-0. But before then, obviously Luton away. Will you be going?
I'm not going to Luton. It's the same situation we talked about earlier, really, about the fact that it would involve me having to use some holiday, and I don't want to use holiday on football this year because I've got other stuff that I want to do. Particularly not a trip. Trip to Luton, it's just not that exciting. So I'm going to have to give this one a miss. I've got quite a few friends that are going, a few friends from London that are going up. I think Wednesday will be well followed. For a lot of people, it's a new ground to go to, because I'm trying to think back to the last time I remember us playing at Luton, and it's a long time. I remember John Sheridan scoring that goal there when it was the plastic pitch, and you get every so often you get really kind of grainy images of it that go around on Twitter, where we took the free kick and then he flicks it up and volleys it himself. It's a brilliant goal, and obviously they still play at Kenilworth Road. It's a quirky ground. I think the entrance to the away end is literally.
We must have been there since then.
We will have done. Yeah. But I can't.
Yeah, you walked through an estate. You walked through a Gennell.
Weird, isn't it? It's weird.
Yeah, I went. I know my dad used to have a friend who was a director there, so we used to go in the director's box. So I'd have been about, I reckon, 15 the last time I went.
Right.
So, and it's probably since, because we always used to go in their box, so it would have been since then. But I always remember, I mean, you've obviously know my dad, but my dad's got this really, he's one of those blokes that looks like a lot of different people. So he used to look, when he was younger, he used to look a hell of a lot like Gerard Houllier. And we went to Luton away, and this disabled teenager came running up to him and asked for his autograph. And my dad is the nicest man in the world, but he's also very straight to the point and almost like on the spectrum to the point where he just went, no. I'll never forget that. I was like, Dad, just lie. Just sign it. It doesn't matter. This poor little lad. But yeah, and it was also that game that I believe, who was it now? But one of the players walked past me absolutely stark bollock naked, because the entrance to the director's box was right outside the away team showers.
Wow.
So it was just one of those really old school grounds where at half time you got a cuppa in one of those really old crappy mugs, like you get in Morrison's Cafe. And the director's box had carpet on the floor. It was just so old school. Like you say, you walk through someone's house virtually to get into the away end. But it's one of those grounds, honestly, if you're listening to this and you haven't been, it is a proper old school football ground that let's be honest, probably won't be around for much longer. There's going to be investment in a lot of clubs, and I'm sure, Luton's got a big enough catchment that somebody will invest in them at some point. And it is just, it's a sight. It's a really good away game to go to. And then, obviously, like I said, if we get through that, then the draw was made last night as we're recording this now. And, well, it was just one of them, wasn't it? You knew it was going to be Man United, Arsenal. You knew there were all these other ones going to come out the hat. But did we expect Chelsea away?
I thought we'd get Oldham. I thought it'd be like, just a real sort of draw where you think, well, maybe it gives us a chance to get through to the fifth round. Yeah, I mean, great. It's good draw. I mean, we need to make sure we don't do the most Sheffield Wednesday thing in the world, because we have got to get past Luton, and that is not going to be an easy game. We obviously, if we've got to go away to like Ipswich, we'd be like, oh, that's going to be a tricky one, that, because they'll be up for it. Then they need a bit of a boost. And as I said, in the football pyramid, Luton are not that far behind Ipswich. So, it's a game we've got to treat with respect. It actually gives, I really wasn't bothered about that Luton game. It gives me that kind of slightly embarrassing kick where I'm like, oh, now I've got to be interested in the FA Cup because obviously I want to go to Stamford Bridge. I mean it'd be great, wouldn't it? It'd be a great little it'd be a great day out. We'd get a huge big allowance there. It'd be a good kind of 4, 5, maybe 6,000 Wednesday fans, all piled into Stamford Bridge. It'd be one of those like it was when we played Man City like 8 times in 2 months or whatever it was, a couple of years back, and it'd just be great. It'd just be a real good day out, and we've not had one like that for a little while. So fingers crossed we could do the bit at Luton.
Well, just to shock you there. Man City actually doesn't feel that long ago, but do you know what? That was the weekend I got my dog, and she's 5 in July. So it was actually over 4.5 years ago that we played Man City, about 4.5 years ago. So it with old Atty's first goal, brilliant. And then it all just went to shit, didn't it? But we had a lovely day. I've had a lovely day. It's been great. So obviously coming into that part of the season now, I mean, we're a week into it, James, and we're past Christmas, so we can look at the league table. We don't particularly want to because it's awful. But it's yellow tie season. It is the transfer deadline window. The transfer window. Deadline day is but about 3 weeks away. Obviously, we've been linked with a couple of different people. There's been some that, I mean, we've been linked with Lookman. I mean, what do you think to that? Do you see that happening? Do you think that is just someone having an absolute Bantosaurus moment and thinking, let's just chuck a name out there and see who locks onto it? Will it be Alan Nixon? Or could there be something in it?
I don't know. It's doubtful. Transfer windows now are, I don't know, they're weird, aren't they? Because every time you see a rumor, for me, I'm so kind of pessimistic about transfer stuff now. Pessimistic is maybe not the word, but I'm so suspicious of it. Every time that I see us linked with anyone, and I'm start thinking, right, hang on, how long is that cynical, player?
Aren't you?
Yeah, that cynical is probably a better phrase. How long's he got left on his contract at his parent club? Is this agent playing some games here? Why would so and so be doing this? Could it be from someone within our own club that's trying to stir it because they want to get better form out of someone that's playing in that position? And I always think there's always more to any transfer rumor than actually the kind of the reality of just a player and a club and a possible transfer. So I tend to treat them all with a bit of kid gloves, and definitely that's one that I'm probably not taking too seriously, which means it'll probably happen,
We can hope. Obviously, there's been quite a few rumours of outgoing, so just to run through them quickly. Gary Hooper is apparently going to America and not on his holidays. Hopefully, there'll be plenty of boxers around the American leagues. Westwood is apparently going to West Yorkshire. We don't like to mention that side. Barry Bannon obviously has picked up his injury. Does that mean he's going to be safe now and able to be kept with us through the transfer window, or are people not that stupid and will sign him anyway, knowing that he'll be back in a couple of weeks? And then the one that's come out today has been Reach to Villa. That's been reported quite a bit in the press. I think that would be a real shame. I can see us building a team around Reach, and I think Steve Bruce is the kind of manager that would get a lot out of Adam Reach. I don't know what you think there, but I think he had a poor game against Luton, as we've said. But I think he's come into the player that we thought we'd signed over the last probably 6 months or so. So I think he would be a big loss to us. But then again, you look at the financials, and if he's worth some of the figures that have been banded around, if only there was a podcast that could talk about financial fair play and what Adam Reach would mean to that. And then obviously Used is apparently out somewhere, back to his homeland or thereabouts. Is he a great loss? I mean, we sang his praises when we first signed him, didn't we? But it just seems to have. Well, I've not seen him. I don't know where he is.
It's not gone anywhere, has it? He did. We all thought he was the Messiah. He was this confident, ball playing defender who pings some proper Barry Bannon-esque balls across the pitch at some games. That was it. The goal we scored at Reading towards the beginning of last season, where he played this beautiful kind of crossfield pass, but he got a bit found out, didn't he, in the United match at Hillsborough last season, and it's never quite been the same for him since then. So I don't know whether English football is suiting him all that well. I think I'm not too worried about Bannon. I don't think that Bannon will go anywhere. Hooper, I think, is irrelevant because I don't think we'll see Hooper in a Wednesday shirt. He's not going to get offered a new contract. So if there is if there's an opportunity, if there is a chance for him to be hooking up with a club kind of sooner than that, I can't remember what months the season runs to in America, but if it suits him for us to release him from his contract early and go over there and do that, that's got to be advantageous for us because he isn't. I don't think he's going to be a thing for us again. Westwood, unpopular opinion, I wouldn't be bothered if Westwood went. Sorry, I just wouldn't. And Reach is a funny one because I think, again, this is probably unpopular opinion, and I did have an argument with a friend about this earlier. Reach is a good player, right? There's no doubt about that. Reach is a good player, and he's got better. And there may be better to come from Adam Reach. He's still at an age where he's probably got better ahead of him. Is he an amazing footballer? I'm not sure. He scored some good goals for us this season, but we all know the fact that Reach has those games where he can drift out of the game a bit. You said against Luton he didn't really do much. We've seen fewer of those games from him recently, but he does still have those games, and I think that Reach. I think he probably will end up playing in the Premier League. And I'm also minded of the fact that he's got, at the end of this season, he's got 2 years left on his deal with us. And anyone, when they're into that kind of last 2 years of the deal, you start thinking about, right, we need to be making a new contract offer to them. If he makes it pretty clear to us he isn't going to sign a new contract, he'll see out the contract, that's fine. But then he's going to take his opportunity to get a move to the Premier League for free. Then can we afford to not make anything on Adam Reach? And because of the precarious situation that we're in financially, the longer that we leave it, the more that other clubs will see how desperate we are to sell and will offer us less. And that's our own fault because we've not balanced the books before this point. So it's complex. There's a lot of different things in that equation. To cut a long story short, I think if someone comes in and offers a £10 million plus bid for Adam Reach in January, we'd be a little bit silly not to take it. And that's not showing a lack of ambition. That's looking at all the different stuff that's going on in the club and recognising the fact that we have to get some money in from somewhere. And if we can do it through selling one player, who I think is a great footballer, don't get me wrong, but I don't think is amazing. And I think that balancing all that together, it would actually be regrettable, but it would be good business for us. And we'd be potentially just digging ourselves a much bigger hole that we need to get out of in the summer if we turn down an 8-figure bid for Adam Reach. I mean, crikey, if someone comes along offers 50 million, you've just got to take it. We'd be really silly not to, because we don't know if Adam Reach has now hit his peak and will not get any better and will not improve any further for us. So yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, what is he, about 24, 20, he's 25, isn't he? So I think, I don't know if he's hit his peak yet. I don't think we've yet found his perfect position. I think, or we have, and we've switched away from it again, and then we've switched back to it. And I think he needs some stability. I think, and he would get that in a probably bottom half Premier League club if he went in at that sort of level. I think he'd get his place, he'd cement his place. The thing that, like you said, I mean, it comes down to finances, doesn't it? And it's frustrating because we've got the tuna books, we've got someone who doesn't want it to come down to finances, but sadly it is going to. But obviously, Used, I think we're going to lose probably quite a bit of money on him. I think we paid quite a hefty fee for him. I can't see, was it €3 million, something like that? I can't see us getting anywhere near that back for him at all. I just can't see that happening. So therefore, you know, like you said, there's more of a financial hole. Adam Reach, what was he, 4.5 million, something like that. Like you say, if we can get 10, that kind of plugs the gap of Van Aken. But then you think it's a lot of sacrifice to plug that gap, and it's not going to plug the other gap. I can't imagine Reach being on he'll be on big money, but I can't imagine him being on the same sort of money as your Hoopers and your Westwoods, and probably Van Aken. To be fair, I bet he's on quite a wedge. So I think it'd be a real shame to lose him. I do, and I think anyone would think that. But is it the end of the world? That's the thing. If it was between Reach and Bannon, if you had to lose one, who would you lose?
Oh crikey! That's such a hard question.
Mm-hmm.
Well, realistically, okay. Look, this is based on a lot of different things, but I would have to say I would lose Bannon, and I keep Reach, and that's because I think Reach is younger. But there'd be a condition to this, which would be I would be sitting down with Adam Reach now and saying, look, we think that you are the future of our club. Here is your new contract. This is how much we're going to pay you. Get it signed. Because if Reach is not willing to sign a new, at least 4-year deal, which bumps his value right up, you know, we could still end up having to sell him further down the line or whatever, but at least it means it gets value up. So that would be my condition. You know, I think if we don't sell Adam Reach in this transfer window, that's not the end of the world. We could still, you know, there's ways and means that we can make this thing work. But we've got to get him to sign a new contract. I think that, you know, if we're it's a bit like kind of watching a no deal Brexit kind of, you know, move closer and closer and closer. if we're going to take this risk of ending up in a transfer embargo for anything up to 2 years, then what we've got to do is make sure that before that comes along, we renew the contracts of the players that are important. And we renew the contract of the players who are an asset. Now, we've done it with Bannon, and we've done it with Lucas João. We need to do it with... We're going to allow ourselves to sail closer to this ship of, you know, potential disaster. Then we've got to make it the least risk possible. The least risk possible is selling Reach. But then if we're not going to do that, then the next best thing there is get him signed up to a longer term contract. So, yeah, I mean, I would... In that scenario, I would say offload Bannon, keep Reach, but he's got to sign a new deal.
Yep, absolutely. So, I mean, looking around the rest of the championship, you know, looking in the transfer window, I just wanted to mention there's a very significant person who's moving back to Sheffield this week. My friend Tim has got a new job at Hallam University, so congratulations to Tim. He's moving back up from Chichester. Welcome back to Sheffield, Tim. You are most welcome here in this region. That is it for tonight's show. Obviously, Dan Fudge never made a reappearance, but don't be worried. We are selling him to the Besotted podcast, and we are doubling our expenditure on him. So doubling our income, should I say, on him. So happy days there. James, if anyone wants to find you on Twitter, how do they get hold of you?
I'm on Twitter at James Marriott. Off to Hull on Saturday, so I will probably tweet a few pictures of beers in the car on the way.
Beers in the car, lads. If you want to get hold of Dan Fudge, if anyone can get hold of Dan Fudge, you can find him on Twitter at Dan Fudge, believe it or not. You can find the podcast at TWWcast. You can find any of us in the Riverside Cafe on Catchball Lane on a match day. And you can find me at Victoria1867. Have a good week. What does Eddie say?
Oh, enjoy your time.
Enjoy your time.
Keep up to date with the Wednesday Week on Twitter at TWWcast or on our website, thewednesdayweek.co.uk.